might be real, besides all the bubble kind of stuff. So let's start with Mr. Trump, because I hate to tell you this, but there's more substance in Trump and Bernie than in anybody else. So when you're looking for substance, you kind of go there because there is some substance to what they're doing. Let's start with Trump, because I must say, just one personal observation, not worth any more or less than anybody else's. It don't look so good for Mrs. Clinton against Mr. Trump, if that's what it ends up being. The polling today from the three swing states, Ohio, Florida, and I don't know who Pennsylvania, which apparently give it to him in that matchup, should tell you something. Okay, well, what's interesting about Trump? What's interesting about Trump is not that he proposes things that are far-fetched and not thought through. That's true, and that's true for most of them. So that doesn't distinguish him at all, number one. Number two, some of the things he says are downright strange, but there may be a logic behind them. For example, he's going to put a tariff on Chinese goods that come into the country. Now, it's clear what he's doing there. He's trying to suggest to millions of Americans very worried about their jobs, either because they don't have one, or the one they have looks like it ain't going to be here very long, or that they're going to lose a wage. They want some protection. And to say, I'm going to prevent the Chinese goods from coming in, that Americans are going to have to buy goods made here in America, is a statement, I'm going to help you keep or get a job. That's the point of it. That's the message he wants to get across. Can he do it? Of course he can't do that. He can't do that unless he, like Bernie, is prepared to really go up against it with the powers that be. And maybe he will. I don't know. Now, why can't he do it? Well, half of the goods that come from China come from subsidiaries of American corporations in China. So what you're doing is you're closing the door to American corporations, and not just any American corporations, but all the biggest ones with the most money, who are going to hate your guts because you're killing the profitability. They just invested billions in China to produce there for the American market, and you're telling them, you're screwed. To which their answer is, we're not screwed, you're screwed, and they have the money to do it. And that sets up a real Now, I'm not saying to which way that conflict will go. Mr. Trump may try to mobilize people. He may say that's what they're doing. They're threatening your job with their opposition. And I don't know where the American people go when he says that. What happens in a country if the president says, I'm being besieged by the ruling class of this country, help me? A lot of Americans are going to be very interested in having that. They've not had that before. A president who calls them to struggle against the class that run. Ooh. And Mr. Trump is playing a very interesting game. He's basically threatening to do that. That's what all these little threats are. I don't have to fund my own campaign. You don't do what I want. You won't be at the convention. And Mr. Ryan, you can go take a walk. I don't care. I don't like you. All these other things. Well, these are... he's letting them know, I'm not your conventional candidate. I'm willing to do things. Number two, unlike all Republicans, he's not declaring himself against the government. What I just finished telling you, this 50-year, the government's bad. No, he says the government should be helping people. He supports Social Security. He supports all the national health. He's not against any of this. And that's a very powerful, unusual thing. What does that mean? And remember, this is not just about Trump. How does the Chamber of Commerce, how do the other forces for business, they're not geared up to make the president their enemy. And they're particularly not geared up to make a Republican president their enemy. They don't know how to do that. And we don't know how the chips fall inside the Republican Party when that kind of a split happens. Mr. Trump doesn't want it, but the business community doesn't want it either. That's a scary new situation. They don't want that. And how much are they going to give to Mr. Trump? How many resources are going to give him to pacify the people so they don't have a constitutional crisis of the sort if he goes further in the direction that he talks about. Third example for Mr. Trump. He's a real estate dealer. You got to sort of remember, he doesn't produce anything. Real estate dealer, I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings here, but a real estate person is a person who moves property from the ownership of Mr. A to the ownership of Mrs. B. That's on Monday. On Tuesday, he moves property from the ownership of Mrs. C to Mr. D. And Thursday, that's what he does. He moves the papers about who owns this property, this land, this building. He adds to the wealth of society nothing. He's not interested in that. That's not how he became a millionaire or a billionaire. He shuffled papers. He's a financier. He moves the money from one man to another and charges for this lovely activity and gets a lot. He has a different interest, a different history, a different notion of what wealth is and where it comes from. And he's going to do it that way. He's going to move in that direction. He's excited about that. He's not excited. The fact that things are produced in China, well, who cares? What? And you can see him when he talks about it. Why are you asking me these questions? The only reason I talk about China is because I'm trying to tell the American people, I'm going to help you get a job. I'm going to protect your job. That's why this stuff about China. He could care less. That's why he got caught. I believe his daughter hustles ties and some other pieces of clothing that turn out to be made in China. So he doesn't care about that. It's not interesting to him. It's over. So he's trying to carve out a way to be a powerful president who can get things done, to make America great again, which is some kind of notion of a good old days that is gone, that I'm going to bring back, and I'm going to bring back by daring to do all the things you would like. You would like me to be tough against immigrants? Fine, I'll do that. You'd like me to be anti-Chinese? Fine, I'll do that. You'd like me to say I'll protect your Social Security? You got it. I'll say all these things because I'm not here to do anything other than win this election, and then we'll see kind of what I can do along this line, and I'll be able to do some things, and I'll make a lot more money because I'll become even more rich and famous than I was before. I'm going to be in on all the new real estate deals because I'm designing what they are. So I'll be the first one to buy those dilapidated buildings in that corner of Queens because I know that the next fast train is going right there and everybody's going to buy an apartment over there because they can get into Manhattan in 12 and a half minutes, blah, blah, blah. That's who he is. That's what he is. And that is, the Republican Party can't manage that. Why? This is the important thing. The Republican Party has for 50 years been a very uneasy alliance between the following. Big business. That's why the Republican Party is for free trade. That's why the Republican Party is for no taxes on anybody. That's why the Republican Party is against the government. They shouldn't regulate us. Let us businesses do what we want. Just give us big subsidies like Marlin and the park. That's what we want. But that's only good for a tiny percentage of the American. That's 5% of the people. The big businesses and the rich. 5%. You can't win anything with that. You have to have a mass base if you're going to win an election. So they made a deal, and the Republicans, and they made a deal with three groups of people. Number one, fundamentalist religious people. Number two, social conservatives, which are partly fundamentalist but partly not. And number three, a kind of imaginary, self-reliant cowboy, trucker, yeah, people who think of themselves as entrepreneurs and things like that. You know, that imagery of the cowboy, the self-reliant kind of character. And that gets them something. The Democratic Party did the same thing, but the alliance is different. It's workers, immigrants, minorities, intellectuals, academics. That's their alliance. And these are all falling apart. The Republicans, the fundamentalists and the conservatives have been angry at the business part of it. They don't believe in all that business stuff. They want no abortion, no gay marriage. You know what they want. And so they get a lot of attention because that's the smokescreen to get by all the business legislation that is really what's driving all of this. That's why we don't have any action on carried interest. We have 8 million meetings about gay marriage, about which the business community could care less. You could see sometimes it comes up to Trump. He's looking. I don't give a crap about this. I don't care. I don't care about abortion. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, yes, transgendered people. I mean, they can go to the toilet on the roof. I don't care. You know, I don't care. And you can see it in his face. He's not interested in this. So, but that's not the rule. That's not the way the Republicans have to be interested in that. That's the game. And that alliance is disintegrating on them. That's why so many fundamentalists are voting for Trump. He doesn't give it to them, but they're so angry at the old establishment for faking an alliance that they are going to vote for Trump, and he's going to pick up a big vote. And Bernie is doing the same on the other side. The Democratic Party moved to the right, as the culture did over the last 50 years. It has betrayed the labor movement, has betrayed all the betrayed the intellectuals too. For people who vote for the Democratic Party because it's a lesser evil and for not much other reason. And now, basically, Bernie calls them on it and makes her out to be the person with whom we don't want to ally anymore. Every anger of the left wing of the Democratic Party is being organized by Bernie and focused on Mrs. Clinton. And so she becomes, pardon me, the bad guy inside, and the Democratic Party alliance falls apart. That's what this election is. It's not about it is the falling apart of a 50-year tradition of political alliances. And that means serious disruption, serious internal conflict, serious confusion, and serious redirections of people's politics. We are in for a very rough ride. And since it's politically rough on top of an economic system that's in one of its worst shapes, it is going to be very rough, but also very interesting. Okay, folks, we've run over time.